George Carl Julius Hackenschmidt was born on August 1, 1877 in Dorpat, which was part of the Russian Empire, but is now the city of Tartu in Estonia. He was a Baltic German, a heritage that really shaped his disciplined and determined character from a young age. His father, Georg Friedrich Heinrich Hackenschmidt, was a dyer, and his mother, Ida Louise Johansson, was of Swedish descent. From his earliest days, George was not like the other boys. He possessed a quiet strength and a deep curiosity about the world around him. His childhood was spent in a land rich with history and folklore, a place where tales of strong heroes and great feats were part of the culture. This environment likely planted the first seeds of ambition in the young boy's mind. Growing up, George was a picture of health and vitality. He loved being outdoors, running through the fields and forests near his home. He wasn't just playing, he was testing himself, pushing his body to see what it could do. He would lift heavy rocks, climb the tallest trees, and swim in the cold rivers. This early, unstructured training built a foundation of incredible natural strength and endurance that would later become legendary. He was a student at the Dorpat Realschule, where he excelled not only in his studies, but also in physical activities. He was drawn to anything that required power and skill, and his teachers quickly noticed his exceptional physical gifts and his unwavering focus. His family background was modest, but it was filled with a strong work ethic. He learned the value of hard work and perseverance from his parents. These weren't just lessons in how to make a living, they were lessons in how to build a life. George applied this same dedication to his physical development. He understood, even as a teenager, that to become truly great, one had to commit their entire being to the goal. This was not a passing hobby for him. It was a calling, a deep-seated desire to become the strongest man in the world. This powerful drive would guide him through every challenge and every triumph of his remarkable life, setting him apart from all others. The world in which Hackenschmidt grew up was on the cusp of great change. The late 19th century was a time of industrial progress and a renewed interest in physical culture. Strong men and athletes were becoming popular heroes, their amazing feats of strength capturing the public's imagination. For a young man like George, blessed with such extraordinary physical potential, the path was becoming clear. He saw the admiration given to these powerful figures and knew that he had the ability to join their ranks and perhaps even surpass them. His journey from a small town in Estonia to the world stage was about to begin, and it would change the face of strength sports forever. George's formal introduction to physical training began when he was a teenager. He joined the Dorpat Georgiev Athletic and Cycling Club, a place where his raw, natural abilities could be shaped and refined. It was here that he first laid his hands on proper barbells and dumbbells. The cold, heavy iron felt right in his grasp, like a key unlocking a door to his destiny. He took to lifting with an enthusiasm that, honestly, bordered on obsession. His progress was astounding. While other boys struggled to lift moderate weights, George was soon handling poundages that amazed even the most seasoned members of the club. His body responded quickly, his muscles growing thicker and harder with each passing week. His natural strength was simply phenomenal. Stories from this period almost sound like myths. It was said that he could lift a small calf with one arm and perform feats that other men couldn't accomplish with two. In 1896, at the tender age of 18, he officially lifted a barbell weighing 330 pounds in a one-handed overhead press, a record that stood for many years. This wasn't just a display of brute force, it was a demonstration of perfect technique and coordinated power. He also excelled in other athletic endeavours. He was a fast runner, a powerful swimmer, and a gifted gymnast, able to perform complex movements with grace and ease, which was unusual for a man of his size and muscularity. His reputation as a physical marvel began to spread beyond his local club. He was no longer just a strong boy from Dorpat. He was becoming a regional phenomenon. In 1897, he moved to St. Petersburg, the grand capital of the Russian Empire, to work as an apprentice engineer. This move was a pivotal moment. It was in St. Petersburg that he came under the guidance of Dr. Vladislav von Krajewski, the personal physician to the Tsar. Dr. Krajewski was a passionate advocate of physical culture and ran a prestigious athletic club. He saw the immense untapped potential in the young Hackenschmidt and took him under his wing, becoming his mentor and guide. Under Dr. Krajewski's expert tutelage, George's development accelerated at an incredible pace. Dr. Krajewski wasn't just a trainer, he was a scientist of strength. He taught George the principles of progressive resistance, proper nutrition, and the importance of rest and recovery. He introduced him to the world of professional strongmen and wrestlers, a world that George was destined to conquer. It was Dr. Krajewski who famously nicknamed him the Russian Lion, a name that perfectly captured his ferocious power and majestic presence. With this newfound knowledge and support, George Hackenschmidt was now fully prepared to step out of the gymnasium and onto the world stage. While George Hackenschmidt was already a celebrated weightlifter, Dr. Krajewski believed his true calling was in the sport of Greco-Roman wrestling. At the time, wrestling was one of the most popular and respected sports in Europe, and its champions were revered as national heroes. Dr. Krajewski saw that George's unique combination of explosive power, cat-like agility, and unwavering stamina made him a perfect candidate for the wrestling mat. He encouraged George to transition from lifting static weights to applying his strength against a dynamic, resisting opponent. George, ever eager for a new challenge, embraced the idea with his characteristic determination and began to train in the art of grappling. His rise in the wrestling world was nothing short of meteoric. He approached wrestling with the same scientific mindset he had applied to weightlifting. He studied techniques, analyzed his opponent's movements, and developed strategies. His immense strength gave him an immediate and overwhelming advantage. Opponents who were used to using leverage and technique to defeat stronger men found themselves completely neutralized by Hackenschmidt's raw power. He could break their holds with ease, lift them off their feet, and control them with an iron grip. His early matches were often incredibly short, as his opponents were simply unprepared for the level of force he brought to the mat. In 1899, just a year after seriously taking up the sport, Hackenschmidt entered and won the Amateur Greco-Roman Wrestling Championship of Russia in St. Petersburg. This victory was a clear signal that a new force had arrived. Soon after, he turned professional and began a tour of Europe, challenging and defeating the best wrestlers each country had to offer. His matches became major events, drawing huge crowds wherever he went. People were fascinated by this physical specimen, who seemed to be carved from stone. He was not just strong, he was a magnificent athlete, and his presence in the ring was magnetic. His fame grew with every victory, solidifying his status as a top contender. By 1901, he had won a major international tournament in Vienna, earning him the title of World Greco-Roman Wrestling Champion. This was a monumental achievement for someone who had only been wrestling professionally for a couple of years. He had climbed to the very top of his sport with astonishing skill. He became known for his signature hold, the bear hug, a move that utilized his incredible chest and arm strength to crush the breath out of his opponents and force them into submission. The name the Russian Lion was now known and feared throughout the wrestling world. He was the undisputed king, and it seemed that no one could challenge his reign. With the Greco-Roman World Championship firmly in his possession, George Hackenschmidt's dominance was absolute. He travelled the globe, taking on all comers and leaving a trail of defeated champions in his wake. He was a true world champion, defending his title in cities like Paris, London, and Hamburg. His matches were often a spectacle of power and skill. He would calmly assess his opponents, weather their initial attacks, and then, with a sudden burst of energy, overpower them completely. His victories were so consistent and so decisive that he created an aura of invincibility. For several years, he was undefeated, a record that was almost unheard of in the highly competitive world of professional wrestling. In 1904, he expanded his horizons by transitioning to catch-as-catch-can wrestling, a more open and aggressive style that was popular in Great Britain and the United States. This style allowed for a wider range of holds, including submissions that targeted the legs. Undaunted, Hackenschmidt adapted quickly, blending his Greco-Roman foundation with the new techniques. He travelled to England, where he defeated the top British champion, Tom Cannon, to claim the World Catch-as-Catch-Can Championship. This victory unified the major world titles, making him the first ever undisputed World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. He was now, without question, the #1 wrestler on the planet. His fame in England and America grew to immense proportions. He was a superstar in the truest sense of the word. He would fill large arenas, and his matches were front-page news. He even wrestled in front of royalty and heads of state. In the United States, he defeated the American heavyweight champion, Tom Jenkins, in a series of high-profile matches in 1905, solidifying his claim as the world's best. For nearly a decade, Hackenschmidt reigned supreme. His professional record was immaculate, boasting hundreds of wins and not a single defeat. He was more than just a champion. He was an icon of strength and athletic perfection, a living embodiment of the physical culture movement. During this period of dominance, he faced legendary opponents like the terrible Turk Ahmed Madrali. Their match in 1904 was highly anticipated, pitting Hackenschmidt's scientific strength against Madrali's fearsome reputation. The match, however, was shockingly brief. In under 2 minutes, Hackenschmidt secured a hold that dislocated Madrali's arm, forcing an immediate end to the contest. This victory, while unfortunate for his opponent, only added to Hackenschmidt's mythical status. It seemed that no man could stand against the power of the Russian lion. He had conquered Europe and America, and his throne at the top of the wrestling world appeared to be completely secure. While George Hackenschmidt was the conquering hero of Europe, a different kind of wrestler was making a name for himself in the American heartland. His name was Frank Gotch. Gotch was from Iowa, and he was the master of the rough-and-tumble catch-as-catch-can style. He was cunning, incredibly durable, and not afraid to use aggressive tactics to win. By 1906, Gotch had become the American heavyweight champion and was seen as the only man who could possibly challenge Hackenschmidt's global supremacy. The public clamored for a match between the European artist and the American roughneck. It was a classic clash of styles and personalities, and the stage was set for one of the biggest sporting events of the era. The first match took place on April 3, 1908, in Chicago. The hype was enormous. Thousands packed the Dexter Park Pavilion, and millions more followed the news through telegraphs and newspapers. Hackenschmidt, confident in his abilities, perhaps underestimated his American rival. The match was a grueling 2-hour battle. Gotch, familiar with the punishing pace of long American matches, used tactics that were foreign and frustrating to Hackenschmidt. He was said to have used his head as a battering ram and rubbed his thumbs in Hackenschmidt's eyes. After 2 hours of relentless struggle, a weary and frustrated Hackenschmidt conceded the match, giving Frank Gotch the World Heavyweight Championship. It was Hackenschmidt's first ever professional defeat. The loss was a bitter pill for Hackenschmidt to swallow. He felt that Gotch had used unfair and foul tactics to win. For the next 3 years, the wrestling world debated the outcome and eagerly awaited a rematch. Hackenschmidt retreated to England to train, vowing to reclaim his title. The rematch was finally scheduled for September 4, 1911, again in Chicago, this time at the newly built Comiskey Park. The event drew a crowd of nearly 30,000 people, a record for a sporting event at the time, and generated a gate of over $87,000, an astronomical sum for the day. The world was watching to see if the Russian Lion could avenge his only loss. Tragically, the rematch was a disappointment. Hackenschmidt had suffered a serious knee injury during training, a fact he kept hidden from the public and the promoters. He entered the ring at a significant disadvantage, his mobility severely limited. Gotch, a savvy and opportunistic opponent, quickly targeted the injured knee. Unable to defend himself properly or mount any effective defense, Hackenschmidt was forced to concede the match in 2 straight falls in under 30 minutes. This decisive victory cemented Frank Gotch's legacy as the undisputed champion, and, really, it effectively marked the end of George Hackenschmidt's legendary wrestling career. Though he lost, his courage in fighting while injured was noted by many. After the second decisive loss to Frank Gotch in 1911, George Hackenschmidt officially retired from professional wrestling. He was only 34 years old, but his body had endured years of intense competition and punishing training. The knee injury that hampered him in the final match was a clear sign that it was time to step away from the ring. He left the sport with a record that was, and honestly still is, almost unbelievable. Over a career spanning more than a decade, he had competed in thousands of matches and had lost only twice, both times to the great Frank Gotch. His era of dominance was over, but his impact on the sport and the world of physical culture was just beginning. Hackenschmidt did not simply fade into obscurity. He was a man of many talents and interests. He was well read, spoke 7 languages, and had a deep philosophical mind. After his retirement, he settled in England, a country he had grown to love. He became a British citizen in 1946 and lived a full and productive life. He channeled his immense knowledge of health and fitness into a new career as an author, lecturer, and physical culture expert. He wanted to share the secrets of his strength and vitality with the general public, helping ordinary people improve their lives through exercise and healthy living. He was no longer just the Russian Lion. He was becoming a sage of fitness. He wrote several influential books, including The Way to Live in Health and Physical Fitness, which was first published in 1908 and remained popular for decades. In his writings, he laid out his philosophy of life, which emphasized a balance between mind, body, and spirit. He advocated for a vegetarian diet, plenty of fresh air and sunlight, and of course, regular physical exercise. His advice was practical, sensible, and ahead of its time. He believed that strength was not just for athletes and strong men, but was a birthright for every human being. He saw physical fitness as the foundation for a happy, successful, and meaningful life. George Hackenschmidt lived a long and healthy life, passing away in London in 1968 at the age of 90. He remained physically active and mentally sharp until the very end. His retirement from wrestling was not an end, but a transition. He successfully transformed himself from a celebrated athlete into a respected teacher and philosopher. His career achievements in the ring made him a legend, but his work after retirement cemented his legacy. He had proven that the strength built in the gymnasium and the wrestling ring could be translated into a long, prosperous, and influential life, serving as an inspiration for generations to come. George Hackenschmidt's approach to training was revolutionary for his time. He was not just a naturally strong man who lifted heavy things. He was a student of strength, a scientist in the gym. He believed in a holistic approach, understanding that true power came from a combination of physical training, proper nutrition, and mental fortitude. He emphasized the importance of all-around development. He didn't just focus on the muscles used for wrestling. He trained his entire body to be a finely tuned athletic machine. This is why he was not only incredibly strong but also fast, agile, and possessed of seemingly limitless stamina, qualities that set him apart from his more one-dimensional contemporaries. One of the cornerstones of his philosophy was the principle of progressive resistance. This may seem obvious today, but in the early 1900s, it was a concept that was not widely understood or systematically applied. Hackenschmidt knew that to get stronger, the body must be constantly challenged with ever-increasing loads. He meticulously recorded his workouts, tracking his lifts, and always striving to add more weight or perform more repetitions. He believed in training with heavy weights, but also stressed the importance of perfect form. He warned against sloppy, jerky movements, understanding that they not only reduced the effectiveness of the exercise, but also led to injury. Nutrition was another critical component of his success. While many strongmen of his era consumed massive quantities of meat and alcohol, Hackenschmidt advocated for a much cleaner diet. For most of his life, he was a vegetarian, subsisting on a diet of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and whole grains. He believed that this way of eating provided all the nutrients necessary for building a powerful physique without the toxins and digestive burden of a heavy meat-based diet. He also stressed the importance of drinking plenty of fresh water and getting enough sleep, recognizing that recovery was just as important as the training itself. His dietary habits were highly unusual for a strongman of his time and showed how forward-thinking he was. Beyond the physical, Hackenschmidt placed great emphasis on the power of the mind. He was a proponent of what we would now call mindfulness and positive thinking. He wrote about the importance of willpower, concentration, and a calm, focused mental state. He believed that the mind controlled the body, and that a strong will was necessary to push through the pain of intense training and the pressure of high-stakes competition. He advised his readers to avoid worry and negative emotions, as he felt they drained the body's vital energy. This integration of mental and spiritual principles with physical training was a hallmark of his philosophy and a key to his incredible success. George Hackenschmidt's legacy is not just recorded in the annals of wrestling history, it is alive and well in every modern gym around the world. This is because he is credited with popularizing and in some cases inventing exercises that are now fundamental to strength training. His innovative spirit was not confined to his wrestling strategies, but extended to how he built his legendary power. He was constantly experimenting with new ways to challenge his muscles and develop functional strength. Two of the most famous exercises associated with his name are the hack squat and the floor press, a precursor to the modern bench press. These movements are a direct link to his genius. The hack squat is perhaps his most famous contribution. The name hack is a direct reference to his own surname. This exercise, where a barbell is held behind the legs and lifted from a squatting position, is a phenomenal developer of the quadriceps and glutes. Hackenschmidt developed this lift to build the powerful leg drive he needed in the wrestling ring. He would perform it with incredible weights, building a foundation of lower body strength that was second to none. Today, specialized hack squat machines are a common sight in gyms, but the original barbell version, as practiced by George, remains a challenging and highly effective exercise for building powerful legs. Another major contribution was his development of the floor press. In Hackenschmidt's time, the bench press as we know it did not exist. Lifters would lie on their backs on the floor and press a barbell from their chest to lock out. Hackenschmidt was a master of this lift, and he is reported to have pressed over 330 pounds in this style, a world record at the time. This exercise is the direct ancestor of the modern bench press. It builds tremendous pushing power in the chest, shoulders, and triceps. Even today, many powerlifters and strength athletes use the floor press as an assistance exercise to improve their bench press lockout and build raw strength. His influence extended beyond just these two exercises. He He advocated for a full-body approach, incorporating movements like overhead presses, rows, and various forms of deadlifts and squats. He was a proponent of using a full range of motion to develop flexible and resilient muscles. The routines and principles he outlined in his book, The Way to Live, provided a blueprint for generations of fitness enthusiasts. He helped to shift the focus of physical training from simple circus strongman stunts to a more systematic and health-oriented pursuit. He was a true pioneer, and the fundamental exercises he championed are still the bedrock of effective strength training programs today. George Hackenschmidt is remembered for so much more than just his wrestling matches or the heavy weights he lifted. His legacy is that of a true pioneer, a man who forever changed our understanding of human strength and physical potential. He was a bridge between the old-time strongmen of the 19th century and the modern athletes and bodybuilders of the 20th and 21st centuries. He combined a magnificent physique, which would be admired even by today's high standards, with incredible functional strength and athletic ability. He was the complete package, a perfect blend of aesthetics and performance, setting a new standard for what a strength athlete could be. His influence on the world of physical culture is immeasurable. He was one of the first athletes to achieve global superstardom, proving that strength sports could be a major spectator attraction. His high-profile matches against Frank Gotch were front-page news and helped to popularize professional wrestling in America, laying the groundwork for the massive industry it would become. More importantly, through his books and lectures, he brought the message of health and fitness to the masses. He democratized strength, arguing that it was not just for a gifted few, but was an achievable goal for anyone willing to put in the work. He inspired millions to take up exercise and live healthier lives. When we look back at the history of strength, George Hackenschmidt stands as a monumental figure. He was a man of great integrity, intelligence, and dignity. He carried himself as a champion both in and out of the ring. He was not just a brute, he was a gentleman and a scholar, a thinking man, strong man. His philosophical writings on the connection between a strong body, a sharp mind, and a peaceful spirit were decades ahead of their time and are more relevant today than ever. He showed the world that building physical power could be a noble pursuit, one that enhances every other aspect of a person's life. This is why, more than a century after his final match, we still talk about the Russian Lion. His name is synonymous with strength, honor, and innovation. Lifters still perform his exercises, and fitness experts still quote his timeless wisdom. He was a true hero of the Iron Game, a man who not only reached the pinnacle of his sport, but also dedicated his life to helping others on their own journeys to strength and well-being. George Hackenschmidt was not just the original wrestling powerhouse. He was a founding father of the modern fitness movement, and his powerful legacy will continue to inspire us for a long, long time to come.